Section 7 is all about the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula allows us to find those roots or solutions or zeros that we talked about in the lesson before this if we can't factor. So you're going to notice today with the quadratic formula that all of the questions are technically factorable with what we've been doing, except we're going to use them anyway as the quadratic formula to get used to it. So the next lesson on quadratic formula will actually be more of the style of the questions that you're going to see. But just for today, to make them a lot easier for you to learn the process, the questions are technically factorable, but we'll pretend that they're not for a second. If you take a look, the quadratic formula is listed up there for you. Plus or minus is what's going to give you two roots, two solutions, because these are quadratics. I want to point out that the quadratic formula can only be used on a quadratic. So anything that's highest power of x is 2, then you can use the quadratic formula to solve. Make sure that your equation is set equal to 0 before you use it. If it's not, you have to do that first before you can do anything else. So number 1, this already is set equal to 0. So pull apart your a, b, and c values. So my a value is 1, my b value is 6, and my c value is 9. The formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I'm just going to start substituting. I get negative 6 plus or minus the square root of, and I do the b squared part by myself without filling it in. 6 squared is 36, minus 4 times 1 times 9, all over 2 times 1, which is a. So the first part that you're going to focus on for actually evaluating is what's underneath the radical. So you'll see if you type that into the calculator exactly the way that you have it, you get 0. It's 36 minus 36, which is 0. So what I really have is negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 0 over 2, because 2 times 1 is 2. And the square root of 0 is 0. So I have negative 6 plus or minus 0 over 2. I usually have at this point students make two statements. One of them is negative 6 plus 0 over 2, and the other one is negative 6 minus 0 over 2. I'm going to do the one in green first, only because that's the marker I have in my hand. Negative 6 minus 0 is negative 6, divided by 2 is negative 3. For the red equation, negative 6 plus 0 is negative 6, divided by 2 is negative 3. So this one, both answers are the same. We talked about that being called a multiplicity. Number 1 has two roots, negative 3 and negative 3, with a multiplicity of 2. All right, if you take a look at number 2, it is also set equal to 0, where my a value is 3, my b value is 2, and my c value is negative 1. So I'm just going to start substituting right away. It's negative b, negative 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared. 2 squared is 4, minus 4 times 3 times negative 1, that's AC, all over 2 times A, which is 3. So I'm going to evaluate what's underneath that radical first. I get negative 2 plus or minus the square root of. This one ends up being 16. Type it in just the way you see it, and 2 times 3 is 6. For the next step, the square root of 16 is 4. So I get two questions again. My top one is negative 2, my negative got lost. Let's fix that. Negative 2 plus 4 divided by 6. And the bottom one is negative 2 minus 4 divided by 6. I'll do the green one first. Negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. Divided by 6 is negative 1. For the top one, negative 2 plus 4 is 2. Divided by 6 is 1/3. So my two answers are 1/3 and negative 1. Number 3. Number 3 is not equal to 0, so you have to get it there first. I'm going to do so by adding 7 to both sides. And when I add 7, I'm going to specifically write it in descending order. So my A value is negative 2, my B value is negative 5, my C value is 7. All right, x equals negative b, but that's negative 5. I'll pretty that up in a second. It will turn positive, but I don't have to do it right away. I can wait until the next time. Plus or minus the square root of. Be really careful when you're typing negative 5 squared into the calculator. I'll write it off to the side here so you can see it. You need to make sure you put parentheses around the -5. If you don't have parentheses around the -5, the calculator is going to give you the wrong sign. It should be a positive 25. Minus 4 times -2 times 7. All over 2 times a, which is -2. So x equals, that -5 turns positive, plus or minus the square root of, and right now I'm focused on all of that. So 25 minus 4 times -2 times 7, which is 25 plus 56, which is 81. So today, these radicals, these square roots, they're going to be pretty, which is what makes it today's lesson. I told you they're factorable. Tomorrow they won't be, or the next day, whenever you look at that video. So just keep that in the back of your mind. That's 5 plus or minus 9. The square root of 81 is 9 over -4. Two answers on that. I get 5 plus 9 divided by -4, and I get 5 minus 9 divided by -4. For the bottom one, 5 minus 9 is -4, divided by -4 is 1. On top, 5 plus 9 is 14, divided by -4 is a -7/2. Two roots. Quadratics will give you two roots. That's what the x squared means. Pause the video to do the U-try-its.